Sweet.
All right.
It's working.
Josh, by the way, the shot gain shirt is available in my Shopify. If you look in the one for yourself, Josh. You need a smaller size than mine, obviously.
Yeah, I'll see if they got extra medium.
How's the prep going?
It's good, man. It's good. It's definitely the best prep so far that I've ever done. Just starting to get to that point now where things are a bit harder to deal with every day and getting a bit more tired, but nah, it's all good, man.
Yeah, man. Looks like you literally look like you have gained a significant amount of size.
Yeah, it was a big off season. Put a lot of time and a lot of effort into that off season, so
There we go.
paid off hopefully.
Right, we're recording, Tom.
Okay, sweet. So, as I said briefly before, Josh, thanks for coming on. The way this works, I don't know whether you've caught it yet, but essentially the idea behind Training Wheels is that we're going to interview a number of people, whether it's athletes, coaches, business owners across the industry, and sort of ask the sort of simple bare bones questions that you might have answered at the beginning of maybe YouTube or your Instagram, that sort of thing. But anyone that's only just joined may not have seen or heard a lot of the things that we're going to ask. The idea is to give sort of new aspiring people into the industry an idea of the routes of progression that they can take and how they can get there.
Yeah, nice. I love that.
So that's sort of the concept behind it. Obviously, we've got a list of questions. Most of them are the same ones we ask people, but obviously we've added a few that we're interested in asking you as well, because obviously we're a little bit fanboy with people that we've interviewed as well. So after checking out the YouTube and stuff, it's pretty good to be able to ask them face to face. So Jason, I think was the first one.
Yeah, obviously, Josh, we know your future goal for this year is to try and get the pro card. But after that, what's your future goals within bodybuilding, and with obviously you're the owner operator of 1MR. So what's your future goals for 1MR and your bodybuilding career?
Difficult. You know what? Like I get asked this question sometimes, and I realize that I live a lot in the moment. I realize I'm quite a reactionary person. I definitely think about the future as well, but I realize how much more I live in the moment, because I'm like, what's my 5-year plan? I don't know, you know. But like immediately, like with bodybuilding, I can iron that out. Like I want to be on that Olympia stage, you know, at this moment in time. I don't want to sit here and say I want to win that Olympia goal. I want to win that Olympia. I want to be the best person that stands on this planet. I do. But there's a real hint of realism that I have, I feel like, and that's a very, very, very challenging goal. So for me to like verbally say that out loud, this is my goal, I'm going to be the best in the world, I personally find it quite difficult, which some people like, you know, some people at the top are the complete opposite. They're like, I knew I was going to win from the start. You know, I wanted to be the pro from the start. So that's a little bit different for me. So right now, like I'm so focused on the pro card. I haven't necessarily thought what's going to come next, other than the natural progression is to try and win a pro show, to try and get to the Olympia, to try and get in the top 10 in the Olympia, to try and get in the top 5, to try and get in the top 3, to try and win it. Like that's the natural progression. So I'd like to follow that model as quickly as possible. Like the quicker I can do that, the better. So with like in a nutshell, with bodybuilding, I am there to be the best that I possibly can be on that stage. I think that's probably quite a good way to do it, is to bring the best version of myself that I can do without pushing myself too far. Business wise, like I definitely want to be a household name in the industry. You know, when people say like, oh, what are the fitness brands that you follow? Like I want Mar to be something that people think of. Most people say Gymshark, they say Alphalete, you know, and then there's some fringe people like VQ and whatever. And I think I would really, really love to assert my dominance on that market and hopefully bring a nice little twist to it with the mindset and motivation and the lifestyle that we try and bring with 1MR, right? I think the idea of being an Alphalete is amazing, and the logo behind it, the sayings behind it, learn more, dream more, be more, that resonated with me really, really hard when I was trying to think of how I bring my business. So that's kind of how I've curated my 1MR business into this kind of mindset, so it can encompass a lot more people and not just people who go to the gym and want to represent Josh Bridgman or 1MR or whatever. So I definitely want to build that and build that legacy, and leave a mark on the industry for the better, you know, not just go in and make money and come out like, I want to change lives. I want people to be armed with knowledge and equipment that can last them years. So I think those are two real big goals.
I think the sort of all the guys who live out there in Texas at the moment, like Christian Guzman and Shawley and all the rest of them, Max Tuning. I watch those videos religiously. I've watched Max Tuning for years because I saw his powerlifting videos.
Same as me.
He's a crazy goofball, but it's like, I enjoy watching it. People around me see me watching, they're like, why the fuck are you watching that guy? But it's inspiring to see that he literally has gone from recording a few shitty YouTube videos to quitting his job to now I don't know whether you watched yesterday's video, but now the fucking, the suites are going crazy and he's having to 15,000 square foot buildings and sort his life out. And then you've got Christian in the background that is obviously that busy now.
Yeah.
That recording the video takes a month because he can't get all the clips in because he's got Alpha Elite, which again is probably, like you say, in the same caliber, if not maybe top 3 in that sort of industry, you know, along with Gymshark or some of these other brands too. So I think it is inspiring to see it. And definitely
I will say I've not watched any Guzman or Max Tuning in a while because I just fell away because I almost thought he was trying to be too funny. Like it didn't seem natural in a sense.
I know what you mean.
So that's why I kind of fell away for that because he was trying to be the funny guy rather than just being himself kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there definitely is that there. Okay, right. So obviously we know what the plans are moving forward, but where did it all start? What got you interested from day one? What was the first thing that you went, I'd like to give that a go? Was it another sport or how did that start?
So I had a really, really active lifestyle when I was younger. I played county rugby, football, all those types of things. And I found it quite hard to stick to one sport because I got good at one sport, but I had quite, I don't want to say pushy because they're not pushy, very, very supportive parents who understood the value of committing to a sport when they were young. Like, you know, if you stick to football and you're really good at football for 10, 15 years when you're 10, like you could be really, really good. Even if you're a second-rate footballer, you're getting a lot of money. So they could understand the power of pushing me towards doing those things. But when I was younger, I couldn't understand. And I pushed back and I didn't fully understand what my parents were talking about and the way they kind of pushed me. So I pushed back and I stopped all that kind of sport. Stopped football initially, moved into rugby. Rugby, they tried to progress you physically so you could be a bigger rugby player. And that was the first introduction into the gym that I had, strength and conditioning training. So just did bench presses and overhead presses and things like that. I actually didn't really like it at the beginning. And I got kicked out of that academy. It was Gloucester Academy for not progressing physically enough. So not being big enough, strong enough. I don't know whether that had some knock-on psychological effect down the line as well, I'm a bodybuilder. But I went to uni to play rugby because I wanted to carry on that dream, but I had an injury just before I went. And the one thing that I knew that I needed to do was just to keep my strength and conditioning. So I carried on with that stuff while I was injured. And I just fell in love with that progression and I learned a little bit more about bodybuilding. And then I saw the YouTubers and I started like emulating the workouts that they did, not really knowing that you could compete in bodybuilding. And then one day, almost like it was meant to be, a Mr. University leaflet just ended up like outside my dorm room. Like it was a Mr. University competition, bodybuilding competition. And I went, yeah, all right. It was in 4 weeks. I kind of knew about Arnold. I followed like some fitness YouTubers. I know that you could compete. And I thought, yeah, all right, let's do it. And then I like got on stage that like 4 weeks dieting and say la vie, the rest is history. I absolutely loved it, fell in love with it and just tried to progress myself since then.
It's cool, man. Again, we've said this the past couple of podcasts, but every single story has been different in some way or form. It's either been like from a mental standpoint, like you said, like something's been said prior and they've sort of progressed into it that way. And maybe they were, you know, skinny as a kid and that sort of thing and decided they want to get bigger, or from like a sports standpoint. So it's always similar in a way, but all very different. I guess you know, doing a 4-week diet for your first competition seems a bit crazy, but I guess you must have been lean at that point.
Yeah, I got lean, but I came second because no one else was lean as well. You know, no one else knew how to diet properly for that. So we all kind of came in slightly out of shape, but I had the best abs, so I did it right.
Do you think too many people, when they are trying to compete in their first, whether it's the first time or whatever first competition they do, they try and play the size game rather than doing what they probably should do and go for the leanness for their first competition kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult. I find it quite difficult to give people advice on first shows and whatnot, because I'm either all in or you're not. And like, if you're all in on bodybuilding, you have to come shredded. There's no excuse. Like, you stand on that stage and you're not lean, you stick out like a sore thumb. And if you're there to compete and take part, all right, cool.
Yeah.
If you want, that's not me as a person. I couldn't go. Like, bodybuilding is a very selfish sport. To be very good at it, you have to give up a lot of things. I could not fathom giving up those things to just not come in shape and not win. Like, that's me personally. That's my personality. That's my winning mentality. So if you're trying to win and it's your first competition, never sacrifice condition, because first competitions, if you're doing a beginners, if you're doing a first timers, if you're doing a show where you have to have never competed, condition will win that show, because no one gets in condition their first show.
You listen to that, Tom?
Yeah, I'm listening.
yeah, it will do. And like, once you've embraced that suck once, you know it's good. You know, you learn how far you can push yourself. So that's definitely. There's nothing worse than sitting in the audience and watching the show, the categories come out before you, and just seeing someone, you think, you really look out of place. You really don't look like you've dieted for this, and like, I'm embarrassed watching you. And that sounds really, really harsh. Maybe that guy just wanted to stand on stage, has gone for a big transformation. That's fine, but for me, it doesn't really sit right. Come in condition.
Yeah, if you're going to do it and you're going to sacrifice all that stuff, which really resonates. If you're going to sacrifice, several months, if not years, obviously, of either losing weight, doing transformation, or gaining weight the other way around, and also missing out on the family stuff, the meals out with friends, the drinks, that sort of thing, that I wouldn't say, I don't want to class it as normal, but that's what everyday people would do, that you're told and led to believe is a normal thing to do with life. So missing out on all those things to get on stage and come in half done.
I agree. Especially if maybe whatever, your partner's coming, your mum's coming, your family's coming, and they're looking at you and they're thinking, why is everyone else 10 times better than you are, and you've like bigged it up for this long, and you've been moody at home because you're dieting and you're still not lean. I think, what is that sacrifice worth? It's not worth anything. It's just, you've just shit on all of your friends and family for like 6 months, not been able to do anything, said no to everything for you to turn up and not really turn up. It's I don't know. I have strong opinions about this, as you can tell.
No, it's interesting because no one really talks about it. No one really says that. Other people are like, well, if you want to give it a try and do the first one, then, do your best.
Yeah, for sure. I've never really been into like just trying bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is an extreme sport. It's like, you can't just try a marathon. I mean, people do, and guess what happens? They get fucked up for months. I've seen some in-depth documentary about marathon runners, and how if like 50% of people run their first marathon like without hardly any training. It can take them like 3 or 4 months to recover hormonally from just doing that marathon. And to a certain extent, when you're pushing your body that similar in a bodybuilding scenario, you've got to consider those sacrifices.
Yeah, for sure, definitely, 100%. That's cool.
Right.
Go on, Grace.
This is one we've had literally different people every single time. Your number
Jamie
one...
Joe Hall said the same as Josh Maley, though.
But they come as a pair. What is your number one physique of all time?
What is my number one physique of all time?
It can be physique or bodybuilder, or it can be any.
C-Bum. I don't even need to think about it. C-Bum is the most beautiful man to have ever graced the planet. There's been people who are close for different reasons. So like, people find it hard to say, who's your favorite bodybuilder? Well, Phil Heath would beat C-Bum in every single pose. So Phil Heath should be like, no. What do you prefer? C-Bum, when he walks out on that stage, I've never gone like jaw drop before. Beautiful aesthetics, not too big, not too anything else, just perfect.
Especially his transformation from 2019 to
unreal. It's so difficult to do at that level. But actually, in a close second, is Jeremy Buendia, and I hate Jeremy Buendia. I think he's an absolute penis.
As a
He's
person,
blocked
yeah,
me. But there's this specific year, I think it was 2017, I had these blue board shorts on, and this is kind of what gave me my first, I just want to do that. And he came on and he just walked on like he was the fucking king, because he was already 2-time winner, and he just hit this like pose where he just kind of slowly leant to the side and just look to the side, and just the beautiful tie-ins on his upper body was just so nice. Now, like, put Buendia against C-Bum in every single classic pose, he loses every single pose. But for men's physique, that was just perfect. No one, if Jeremy Buendia turns up 10 out of 10, no single person on this planet can beat him in men's physique, in my opinion. So between those two.
I think that's where a lot of people get mixed up. Like, they say, like, your favourite one, they go, oh yeah, so Phil Heath will beat C-Bum, but then but Phil Heath wouldn't beat C-Bum in his category. So really, you can have like your favourite bodybuilder in open, 212, classic, but it doesn't mean that the other person is better or worse.
For sure.
Yeah, it's kind of why. I mean, mine's Sean Roden, purely for the aesthetic side of the.
So good.
Yeah, and because I like open, I like classic as well. C-Bum's my favourite classic, always has been. I talk about him quite a lot on Instagram. But if I always look at the open, because that's how I compare myself. Same as, I guess, the same with you with doing
same thing. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
So Sean Roden is like the open bodybuilding version of those two, in my opinion.
I think if Sean Roden could add like a couple pounds of thickness to his back, I don't know if Phil could beat him at his best. You know, like, it's like if Sean's at his best and Phil's at his best, and then Phil wins. But if Sean had a little bit more in that back, I think he would win. He's super aesthetic.
Yeah, from that side shot from the 2019 Mr. Olympia, it looks like a fucking robot. It's unbelievable. So nice, it's crazy. But yeah, no, that's I like those answers. Probably the best one so far, Jason. I don't know whether you think it is. Right, hate in the industry and in the gym.
In the industry, without stepping on too many toes, I think the industry at the moment, for me anyway, someone who's in it and kind of feels it, it feels quite toxic at the moment. It feels quite passive aggressive. It feels like a lot of people have opinions that they like to put out to people about people, but will never tell that person, and then that person gets like flooded with DMs, and it's like, this person said this about you, and then like you don't even know that person, and you don't know how that person knows these things about you. Like, that's happened to me so many times where I've been sent like a clip from a podcast and it's just like some guy who is going in on me, who doesn't know me, hasn't sat down for whatever 20 minutes and had a conversation like this. They don't know who I am. They've just seen one clip where I've said something they don't like, and they've just cussed me the fuck out and not tagged me, not done anything. They just put that on the internet and just, that's it, leave it. There's a lot of passive aggressiveness in this industry, and I think for me it feels fake. Like, I'm very much a person, like, if I don't really like it, I'm either not going to say anything because it's not my place and you do you, or if it does impact someone else, I'm just going to tell you. You know, I'm going to message you personally, and I'm going to call you personally. You know, so when those things have happened in the industry, like I've rubbed people up the wrong way, or there's been some public beef. For example, Brandon, that happened a couple years ago. I rang him. I didn't sit there to Instagram story him. I didn't want to go. I rang him, and I'm like, "Yo, what the fuck's going on?" And he just didn't answer the phone. But you know, that's the person I am. I'm not that internet beef. It isn't me, really.
Yeah, I think too many people are thinking, like, I can say this to this person, but I would never say it to their face. Whereas, you know what I mean? It's like me, and I know you don't say things that you wouldn't say to somebody straight to their face, or something that isn't, like, you might be critical about somebody's physique, the way they've thinking it, but it's in a good way, not in a trying to bring them down.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. There's a lot of criticism, and they're missing the constructive part. Yeah. I think that's the important thing. There's a lot of, you look like this, you are doing this. Well, okay, well, just explain, like, you look like this, maybe you know, and it'd be a lot better. In the gym, you know what? I'm in the gym. I'm very much in my own world in the gym. I don't pay too much attention because it can grind you if you're in like I've been stuck in a pure gym sometimes, and like it's like you have a field day, you're like, what are you doing over there? What are you doing over there? I try and ignore it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I think my pet hate is watching men stare at women. That's probably my pet hate, to be honest. I just like see a girl come in and you just see every guy in that gym just go and just follow around. I'm like, oh, that girl must be so just self-conscious. But that's it. That's the only thing I can think off the top of my head.
No, it's a decent one. Definitely, and I think that is a problem. It's not something that we've spoke about yet, but I think it's very fucking obvious that sometimes, and it has been spoken about slightly with Will, and sometimes I think people do it purposely and they wear specific clothes for that attention, but I still don't think it's right that men would just look at a girl that's coming to the gym for the sake of looking at a girl. I think, it's a little bit intimidating.
It's a really, really grey area, because until we have felt that gorp, and you know what, like I kind of feel it sometimes. Like maybe when I'm on holiday more often, when I'm in cultures, like for example, when I was in fucking the Maldives, right? Every single person that saw me who worked at the hotel was just like, oh, big muscle, and they come over and like grab your arms, and I'm like, this is weird, because if you're in England, you don't go up and grab someobe arms and like squeeze them and stuff, and it feels a bit like
it's like Seabum when he was in Mexico after the Olympia there.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, I'd be the same.
But Ian would have been the same, you know what I mean? Because Ian is huge, and it's like, Jesus.
Yeah, for sure. So it's difficult. It's like the girl comes in wearing a tiny pair of shorts and a sports bra. Well, okay, like doesn't mean you have to sit there and stare at her, because she might be hot. It might be just that she wants to wear that. She feels comfortable in that. It's such a hard scenario to navigate, to be like, she shouldn't be wearing that because she's inviting people to look at her. I think
especially current climate, you need to be very careful.
Exactly, especially the current climate.
I don't want to get blacklisted already, Jason. Let's remember that one. Okay, that's I think that's a good point to be made.
Right. This next one, I think I know one of them, because I think you mentioned it on your podcast, Josh. But your top 3 Instagram accounts that you wake up in the morning after you've had your cardio and steps, that who do you look at first?
Joe and Tom are my first 2 people that come up on my story. I don't get a lot of my inspiration stuff from Instagram, to be honest. I'm not huge into like looking at Instagram too much, but the people that I look at are people like Victor Black, who's quite a big name in the performance enhancing drug industry. I watch cooks, man. I watch cooks at the moment. People who just like cooking up nice food. That's literally
that prep life.
Yeah, literally, that's the main thing that I watch at the moment.
Mikey Chen on YouTube, just traveling around fucking Asia eating random noodles and stuff. That's more thing. So eating my fucking vegetables and chicken. I'm like, fucking hell, that looks great.
You want to watch the Food Ranger on YouTube, mate? He's the one.
I'll check that out. Okay. What's the most surreal moment in your career? At what point did you go, fucking hell, is this actually happening?
I've had a lot of those moments where I've kind of sat back and been like, whoa, am I really in this position where I live my dream? I really, really do what I love every single day, and I wake up with I wake up fulfilled every day. I wake up and I think, yeah, I'm doing what I love every day, and I cannot believe it. So I do have that gratitude every single day. I think maybe a profound moment was, and it's going to sound maybe superficial, but like going to the Maldives, like that's a really, really big place to go. And like I paid for it for me and my girlfriend. Like I took us there, and I kind of stood where I was, and I looked down and I thought, you know what, I've fucking achieved this. I didn't just like save money for a long time and then blew it all. Like I achieved this through living my dream and kind of executing it. That was quite a surreal moment, because even that was 2020. So in 2018, like literally the 2 years before, just before Christmas, which is when we went to the Maldives, I have the message on my phone where I said, Amy, can you send me 20 quid so I can get some petrol to come to you? You know, like it was literally that 2-year transformation, which things massively changed. So that was definitely a big moment for me. There's never like a standout surreal moment because I've not necessarily on paper achieved anything, if that makes sense. Like I'm still just an amateur. Like me and you two are as qualified as bodybuilders, you know, because I'm still an amateur. I've won an overall in a regional, you know, I've not won any national show, I've not done anything like that. So there's never been a moment where I've gone, like, I imagine a pro card would feel like that, right? That surreal moment. But
yeah,
in bodybuilding, I've not necessarily had that, but in like my business life, just when I've managed to kind of stand back and be like, look, I'm living good now. We're doing really good things, and most importantly, I'm achieving an earning and a living. But the way I'm doing that is by helping people. Like that's fucking ridiculous. I feel incredible that I can help people every single day and get paid for it. It's like the dream, right? So
I think it's a dream for a lot of people.
I will say, Josh, my surreal moment, well, one of them so far has been when I met you at the SFN, and you're like,
yeah.
I know him.
and you handed me a bag of haggis.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's right. I said just before the S7, if anyone's got any haggis, you best bring me some. He brought me a bag of haggis. It's about a kilo of it. It's about a kilo of it as well. It was loads of it.
Fuck's sake, Jason. Well, you know, he fulfilled that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Rick from Strong last week said for him, it was somebody, he went to Birmingham or something for a show and somebody recognized who he was and asked for a selfie.
Yeah.
Is there any moments like that, like people that you've met or somebody's seen you and being like super happy to see you and it's kind of just, you're like, is this really my life?
Yeah, like definitely Body Power 2019. Me and Tom had a fucking queue. What is that about? I'm just like a little bloke from Stroud, like we were saying earlier. Like everyone in this town knows me because we know everyone. Like there's like 100 people here, right? Everyone knows everyone. But then to experience that granted, it's Body Power, right? It's a very like your niche is in Body Power, so of course people are going to see you. But yeah, when you're standing there and you think, hang on a minute, we've got one of the biggest queues in fucking Body Power here. Let's look around the booth. This is mental. So me and Tom definitely had a moment after that where we were like, we come a long way here. This is crazy. And like it's never ever gonna get old with people coming up to me in a gym. Always feels good, man. Like people coming up, oh, watch your videos. Just, wow, like this is ridiculous. I don't know you. I've never seen you. I don't recognize you, but you know me. Like this is mental. So yeah, I definitely get those moments, man.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine that would be a bit of a crazy one. Okay. Jason.
Right, I'm going to change up this next question, Tom.
Okay.
What was? Oh, fuck! I had it in my head enough, and I totally forgot what I was going to say. What was it? Oh, I can't even remember. Right, we asked this to Jamie Johal in the last one we recorded. What's your thoughts on Brew lifting, if you know what I mean by people 1 rep max and as soon as they go into the gym, no warm up, and the impact that has in people's overall perception of bodybuilders?
Yeah, I'd like to think that bodybuilding's perception is becoming better. Like it's becoming more educated. There's more people who are more educated. You've got people like Jamie. You've got people like Josh Maley who are like who maybe even used to be that maybe back in the day. I don't know them 5-10 years ago, but I know they've been lifting for probably 10, 15, 20 years, right? So maybe back in the day they did that stuff, but how they've educated themselves through Jordan, JP, or whatever, becoming much more of an educated niche and educated culture. But like definitely, obviously, that there's the huge pec tear the other day. Ryan Crowley, all my thoughts of him and whatnot. Like, I don't know. For me, that's not bodybuilding. That's not conducive to any plan to gain muscle. Is pushing your body to the max. One rep for me is not bodybuilding anyway. And then obviously if you factor in not warming up, maybe just trying to impress people, it plays into that bodybuilding stereotype of like the big ego lifter wants to try and outdo everyone. So it doesn't do the culture very well. But like if you saw any of the comments on Ryan's posts, 90% of them were condemning him, right? It's brutal, but 90% of them were like, you shouldn't have even been doing that, which is a good thing. Bad for him, because obviously he would have read those comments, and that's not a good thing. That's not a nice thing to read. But I would like to think that the bro-ishness is at least in my world, it's starting to kind of slowly subside. But those 1 reps, those pushing your body to the 1 rep limit and trying to beat your mate, and this outdated, it's not cool anymore, you know, for me.
I think it's all about being viral, isn't it? That's what a lot of them are doing these crazy lifts and these crazy feats of strength just to sort of.
Yeah, and hey, if your goal is to go viral and be that guy, cool. All right, just warm up better, innit? Be safe.
Yeah, do any haul and just fucking bench press with girls hanging off either side of the bar rather than.
I've remembered the question. Right, this one, it's a change to one we had. But do you think that with looking at the physique pros at the Olympia there, that they're getting too big?
The men's physique?
Yes.
I get asked this a lot, and if I'm honest, I think they're at the right size right now. Personally, like they're obviously, like men's physique was brought in to be the ideal beach body. That has slowly but surely drifted away into something that's a little bit more muscular and a little bit more unattainable. I personally think that's fine, because like I think that bodybuilding is slightly about extremes and bringing maybe slightly more muscularity and that look as such. So I've not got too much of an issue of how big it is. There was a point when not this year, not last year, but the year before, so 2018 maybe, like I was like, oh shit, they're big guys. Like the top 5 were really big guys. And then Raymond won, who's 6'3", and naturally, if you're 6'3", you're gonna have to be slimmer.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, cool, that's quite good. And then Brandon won this year, who's also a slightly smaller guy. He's like 5'6", 5'7". Cool. Okay, yes, he's bubbly and round, but I don't see that as unreachable as what I once thought that was like 2 or 3 years ago, personally.
Yeah.
So I would like to see it stay here, because there is a stark difference in size from men's physique and classic. The closer that gap gets, the worse it will be. I think right now it's in a good spot, and I don't think it should get too much more.
I saw your post the other day about about people saying, "Oh, I should go to classic because of the way you're looking right now," and whatever else. And you put on there, the way you look at a photo on Instagram is very different to the way you look stood next to an athlete of the same caliber on that stage.
100%. Also, what a lot of people don't see in men's physique is, or what they do see, is they see the guy who won a pro show and they go, fuck me, that guy is massive. There's one guy who I'm thinking of straight away, Fernando Chala, his name is. And there were some rounds of his photos, black guy, Brazilian, maybe Colombian, the fullest chest and arms you've ever fucking seen in your life, big, thick fucking abs, looked like a classic bodybuilder in shorts. And he looked amazing. And you're like, how is anyone going to beat that guy? Because he's massive, he's this, he's shredded, he's this. He's got this crazy muscle bellies. He came like 12th. Because he's too big. Like he did not have that flow, right? The guys who came 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th were half his size. Well, not half his size, but they were smaller than him. So yes, you're going to see these pictures of guys who are winning pro shows because he looked way better than everyone else. But as soon as you take that caliber and you put it against either the aesthetics or the shape with someone a little bit smaller, that smaller person always wins, you know, except for if you're Ryan Terry and you don't win.
I know what you mean. I think it's the whole package, isn't it? And although size game is quite a prevalent thing at the moment, it's about having sort of everything tied together.
As soon as you compare those big guys who the rumors of men's physique is getting too big are made about, like the guys who people say men's physique is too big, like they don't win. They don't come top 5 in the Olympia. They win their pro show, maybe they get their qualification to Olympia, but they don't come top 10, top 5.
Yeah. Just drawing back to the last thing that we were talking about people being more educated within the industry. I don't know whether you've noticed this, but it's certainly over the past probably 2 to 3 years where it's pretty cool to be like very educated about it now. Like within the industry, everybody wants to know everything they can. I mean, I'm definitely one for this where I've paid for and I'm completing my personal trainer qualifications, not only because I want to coach people moving forward on that side of things, but also because I want to understand more. And there's, there's a lot of free information, but it's nice to know that this is, the start of that information moving forward. And I have noticed that you have still got the people that do the bro split and, you need to do this and take that and whatever else. And it's sort of old school information that we all know has been proved pretty wrong now. But majority of people, science-based, everyone's using a logbook. People want to take check-in photos every week and record their measurements. And it's a lot nicer to see now than a couple of years ago where it was, well, how heavy can you lift and how much protein can you get in a day?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think like the medium of podcast and the explosion of social media and Instagram stories, and it's allowed people to explain themselves a lot better, so people aren't just going, oh, the big guy's doing it, so I'm going to do it. Because you've had one, there's a post in a magazine, there's one article on Flex Online, there's one post of him looking amazing. You go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Now there's like, there's a post, but then there's also stories behind it. There's also a podcast behind it. And now you can actually explore what those people are saying, and people are hearing what they're saying and they're going, yeah, makes sense. So get the way you explain it rather than monkey see, monkey do, right? Which is kind of how it used to be.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. Right. I've got one question that I'm going to ask you now, but there's another one after that I want to ask too. But obviously you spoke about there was a couple of sports that you tried before you got into bodybuilding that, because your parents were supportive and trying to teach you on the values of, following up on a sport that could take you somewhere. But if you could choose any sport other than bodybuilding at this point in time that you could be a professional athlete in, which one would it be?
CrossFit. Yeah.
Well, Matt Fraser retired, so there's a space there.
Yeah, someone's got to step up. I was going to be cliche and say football, but my love for football has started to die out, personally. And while the money would be fantastic, no one can deny that it'd be lovely to be earning $100,000 a week. I think just for where I am right now in my life, I think CrossFit would be fucking cool. Like the one thing that I miss about rugby and football is being competitive against other people regularly, right? So you've got your 2 training sessions a week, or 3 if you're in an academy or whatever, even more if you're doing more. Then you've got your game at the weekend, every weekend. Bodybuilding is very much about beating yourself, which is great, and I get off on that and I'm happy doing that. But sometimes it's nice to fucking bury someone, right? That competitiveness in me is like, I just like, so when I do train with Joe, like Brightman, for example, I want to bury the bastard, and I bet he's thinking the same thing. Like, it's that healthy competition. I really like I'm a very competitive person. So to be able to do like a WOD 2-3 times a week against people who are also really good and trying to beat them and trying to work up the ranks, I think that'd be really nice. And you can see, the one thing about bodybuilding is that you can see your progression, but you've got to take a snapshot of like 3 or 4 months or a little bit longer to see that progression. Whereas you can do a WOD one week, you do the same WOD the next week, you either beat your time or you do worse. So you can see that progression, Granted, we can take those philosophies in bodybuilding and say, okay, you did your bench press last week, you're going to get an extra rep. Cool. And that's what I focus on, those daily wins. But if I was against people daily, like I think that'd be good. That'd be a good time.
Well,
competitions are pretty sick.
Seabum recently done a WOD with
Will Tenney.
Will Tenney. That was a good one.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Maybe when I'm done bodybuilding, I'll do it.
Yeah, move over to CrossFit after. It looks good though, and then if you look at the stuff in Dubai now as well, and they're putting massive prize pools in and that sort of thing. If you get to that level, that's some pretty crazy living. And there's a lot of competitions through the year as well. It's not that seasonal, and
it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's only going to get bigger now as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe in 5 years' time, it might be the way that everyone goes. And
Yeah.
Bodybuilding might dwindle a little bit and everyone goes off to CrossFit for a while.
Yeah.
Some of them look really good though. Like the aesthetic side of things, they don't look that bad considering they don't train to look good.
For sure. Functional and sexy, you know? It's nice.
Yeah. This is one of the questions I got asked on Instagram. What's the worst / funniest thing that somebody said about you on Reddit?
Fuck, you know. You know what? Like, I'm numb to the worst things because they're not just on Reddit there every single day. You know what the worst trolls are? Really well thought out ones. When someone has like really knows you, like has clearly like understood your psyche a little bit, understands who you are as a person, potentially has worked out what your insecurities are, because you can work out all those things if you study someone for a while. Well, not study, but if you watch someone for a while.
Yeah.
I've had some real brutal comments which are not put in the nicest way, but are quite like, oh, you got me thinking there. Like, am I actually like shit at this? You know, like those ones who have like really broken down like your decision making. Those ones are the ones I hate the most. But like otherwise, it's just like random insults, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, I was recently on a Reddit post on the bodybuilding Reddit, and it was like, does this guy have potential or whatever? And there was just like literally the top 10 comments were just like about the jacked Ron Weasley and shit. Like just like literally just like these funny comments like that. So I'll take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that got upvoted quite a lot though, didn't it? That post.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. It got me some more followers on YouTube. I'm never going to worry about too much about people casting their opinion on me, but there was lots of good ones, man. It was a lot better than it usually is. I've been on Reddit a few times. Normally it's fucking Reddit.
At least it's not fake Natty posts anymore. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what it used to be. That's literally the last time I was on Reddit was like, this guy says he's natural, but he's not. You know. Now look at me.
And then the voice changed, and everyone was like, "Shit, maybe he wasn't."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh god. Okay, then Jason, what have you got left?
I've not got any Instagram ones, but I just thought of one there. So Josh, I know you've got a big launch happening soon with 1MR. Have you got a date for that? You want to put that out there, get people going to it?
So there's no like official date. It's really, really difficult at the moment just because of coronavirus, because of Chinese New Year. So like a lot of the world shipping stopped in March. So like the things that I ordered towards the end of February didn't even start getting produced until like the 29th of March, which was 5 days ago. So it's been very, very difficult, and I've been trying to get samples of things and they've been delayed. So it's been very, very difficult. So I can't give an exact date, but I'm aiming for probably the middle of May. So like 4 weeks for the full drop. But there are things that I have now which have kind of come sporadically, which is kind of annoying because I wanted to do them all at once. But like the D handles, the restock of the knee sleeves, the wrist wraps, I'm hoping the first two are going to be here before the gyms open in England. The wrist wraps are going to be here like the week after. So I'm very tempted to do an accessories drop first, and then the clothing and the bag and everything else is going to come later on. I'm thinking I'm probably going to do that as a official drop.
Do you air freight it all in then, or is it pricey?
It will depend on how much and based on the logistics. So air is obviously more expensive.
Yeah.
Sea but it's much quicker. So you pay a lot more for the air, maybe $300 or $400 extra, but you'll get it in 8 to 12 days, which sometimes it's worth it. So for example, the cuffs, they go really, really quickly. And because of the way I make them, I can afford to pay a little bit more to get them here quicker. But the things that have a little bit lower margin, or the things that I really want to try and keep at a really competitive price, I'll tend to just go by sea or train actually, but they take 25 to 35 days. So that's for delivery, let alone the making of it. So
that's direct train, isn't it?
Yeah. And now then they've got the EU customs. So now if it comes into the EU at any point, I have to pay an extra 150 quid. So sometimes it comes up above Russia and then it goes over a miss of Scandinavia. So it's depends on the route of it as well. So
and delays with other stuff on the same. I know that bringing stuff in from Europe at the moment, the business that I work in, if something's on the same truck that hasn't got its paperwork, the entire truck is held until that paperwork is sorted for that one shipment. So sometimes it's completely out of your hands, but you might be another week or two behind because of that. So do you see that impacting the stock levels that you think you're going to keep moving forward? Do you think you'll put more in just to cover that? Or
so I put more in on the accessories because they're cheap enough for me to invest in, to not have so much money out of my business that I'm worried. For example, if I got extra stock of everything, I would have to invest X amount extra and have X amount less in my bank accounts, which I need just as a buffer or for something else or whatever. So for the accessories, which aren't as big of a financial investment, I've got a load of extra because they'll always be sold kind of in the background. Sure, a lot will go in the sale, but these little £5 to £15 items, they're really good to tag on to orders, so they kind of consistently sell throughout the year. So it's always good to have a back order of those. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I will say, Josh, it's my birthday. I'm 30 in about 16 days from this when we're recording this, and I did say to both my brother and sister, gift card for 1MR. Waiting for the drop.
I'll take it, man. I'll send you a care package as well.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I need to pick up some knee sleeves, so you might get an order in a minute. Okay then, Jason, you got last one?
No, I've not got any more questions.
Okay. Is there anything else at all, Josh? Anything you got going on at the moment other than the drop and launch coming? And any anything in the pipeline on YouTube or anything you want to talk about?
Nothing special. We're just continuing The Time Is Now, which is my new podcast, my new YouTube series, which has been documenting this whole prep. We have new episodes every Wednesday and Sunday. Bridging the Gap podcast, have new episodes every Wednesday, sometimes Sunday if I can find the time. And we're just building the dream. Like, we're just building the content machine, trying to give you really good information, and you can just find me anywhere you want to. Just type in my name and I should pop up somewhere.
Sweet. And I'll link everything down below as usual.
Okay. Right. Well, really appreciate you coming on. It's good to chat and chew the fat over some of these sort of basic and interesting questions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Right. Cheers, Josh. Have a good rest of your day.
Nice one.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks for watching the episode. Hope you liked it. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to follow us on social medias, either me, Tom, or the guest, they will all be below. And again, thank you for watching this podcast.